Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Popo here, bringing guys a new video, and today we're going to talk about the Regulation G leak. Let's go. Welcome, everybody, and today we're going to be talking about this leak that happened over on Twitter. We have Melkmall, who posted this picture. I don't know where they got this picture. I'm assuming it might be the Japanese Pokemon site. I could not find this anywhere, but essentially what it says is that on June 1st, that's when the Japanese championships are going to be happening, and it shows a picture of a Terrasolized Miraidon and Koraidon, kind of hinting to the fact that we will have restricteds in Regulation G, since Regulation G starts in May. So there's going to be a completely new format. I don't know if it's just going to be Miraidon and Koraidon, just those two, no other restricteds, but what I realistically think that this is going to be a single restricted format, and I had said in the past, in my past videos, if you watch those, that I think this is going to be a single restricted world championship, the first time they've ever done that, and then next year is going to be the double restricted that we're used to when we get restricted Pokemon in the world championship. And the reason why I think this is because the next game that's not a Legends game, which is a mainline series game, by the way, if you don't know that, is going to be coming out after the world championships of 2025. At least it really seems that way. So that's why I think that's what's going to happen with this, and it's going to be really interesting. This is going to be the first game that we've had 3 world championships on, and a lot of people will say, well, you know, we had this game and that game, but what happened is that there was a version of the two that came out, kind of like Emerald, that was run on, you know, whether that be Black and White 2 rather than Black and White, or whatever it might be. So Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. So there was 2, and then that other game, and then on to the next game, kind of thing. It's the first time all in one single game. It's going to be 3 world championships. So I'm excited to see that. So I came up with a little bit of a list. If this is a single restricted format, I wanted to talk about a couple of these Pokemon. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I have 5 here for you guys, and we're going to count from the bottom up. And at number 5, we have Zacian. Now, I'm rating these on how good I think they'll be in this regulation and Regulation G. I think Zacian is good. He did get nerfed. He's only 150 base power, and his ability only activates once per battle now. Just kind of like you see with Hydrapple and Dipplin there, which they shouldn't do that. They should activate every time they come out, but that's beside the point. Zacian was nerfed significantly, so I think the power of Zacian is going to be a lot less, though it is still good against a lot of the threats that are in the meta, i.e. Fluttermane. It kind of just eats Fluttermanes, right? Like, Fluttermane doesn't really do anything back to it. Of course, Fluttermane has a huge special attack, but Zacian actually has a really good special defense, really good HP stat, and then it always one-shots Fluttermane. It don't matter what that Fluttermane is doing. So I think Zacian will be a little bit less. I think it thrives a little bit more in a double restricted format, and when you have to choose your restricteds, Zacian is definitely up there, and he's in for consideration. We see Ogerpon doing really well with those attack boosts on the Hearth Flame, and Zacian essentially is that same thing. So I think it'd be really good. I think Hearth Flame being good against Zacian is definitely a disadvantage for it. Of course, Incineroar being one of the top Pokemon, if not the top Pokemon, also kind of nullifies a little bit of what Zacian can do, because it does put a lot of fake out pressure. You know, it puts Flare Blitz pressure. Are you going to Terrasilize your Zacian? You know, there's all kinds of things you have to consider when using Zacian that you didn't have to consider in the past. So it'll be really interesting. And if we do look back to the single restricted format that we did have, Zacian wasn't really the most used. Of course, Dynamax was still around, so it was good, but it was more of a Dynamax first restricted. So we'll see if it's similar here, because Zacian can actually Terrasilize. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see where it places itself. And number 4, we have Kyogre. And yeah, I think Kyogre does much better in a double restricted format, but I think Kyogre still has a lot of damage output, and it could just do a lot of things. It has a lot of good coverage. You know, it has Thunder, so it can hit 100% accurate Thunders. With Terra Electric, it can now get around things like Rillaboom, which is really good. You know, you can you got Ice Beam, so there's a bunch of different things, and of course Water Spout and the Origin Pulse that nobody wants to click are still around too. So Kyogre definitely has a lot to do, and Tornadus being in the format's really good for it. You can even run Whimsicott, which might be a little bit better at the moment in a restricted format, that is. But Kyogre setting up that Rain can benefit a few of the Pokemon that are in the meta right now, including something like Urshifu. So it'll be really cool to see where Kyogre ends up. It could be really, really good, or it might not be very good at all. And it all depends on, you know, the box restricteds there. So, but going into the next one, we have Miraidon at number 3. Miraidon just can output so much damage. It puts down Electric Terrain, which boosts itself with its ability. Plus, it gets stab on its electric moves. Plus, the terrain also boosts those electric moves. So something like Discharge could do a ton of damage. We could see some, you know, sand teams that are countering those sun teams that can also play something like the Miraidon, where it is just using Discharge next to a ground type. So the Miraidon output is going to be crazy high, and dealing with it is going to be pretty difficult. It speeds type Flutter Mane, and I think it could take a Moonblast, especially if it's EV'd correctly. If you're using something like a Assault Vest rather than like the Choice Specs or the Magnet that you might otherwise use, that could be the difference in something too. We could also see the all of those Paradox Pokemon now being used, you know, like Iron Hands getting a boost so it can be stronger, plus also have its Assault Vest still. There's just a lot of different things that we could see coming out from this thing. I still think that the Sun Paradox Mons are just so much better than the other ones that is kind of crazy. And Miraidon might lead to a lot more of Indeedee usage, and that will be cool to see whether or not that is true. But yeah, I think Miraidon's going to be insane in the double, especially with Kyogre. When those two can be paired together, I think they might be kind of insane. But as a single, I think it's really good. I just think it's it just needs a little bit more, because those Paradox Mons don't really help it too much. And then going into number 2, we have Shadow Calyrex. This thing does a bazillion damage. We all know that. We saw how strong it could be. It won the World Championship. And it just can click Astral Barrage. That did get nerfed by 10 points. But we see Goldango doing something similar. And Calyrex hits a lot of things for at least neutral. And it can be used with Size Spam, which kind of helps it against the matchup of Miraidon, right? Because you can just get rid of that electric terrain, getting rid of the boost on Miraidon. It's really easy to do, running something like that in DD, of course. And they can't lead the Miraidon, right? Because if they lead the Miraidon and you lead the Indeedee, then they just lose their terrain right out the get. So they're just at a huge disadvantage, because Indeedee's always going to be slower than the Miraidon. And then you can click Expanding Force. So Expanding Force, always good. You know, having 2 really strong spread moves could see the uprising of more wide guard users. But for right now, I think Calyrex Shadow Rider is going to be really, really, really hard to deal with in a single restricted format. It just, and with Terra now, it can Terra into so many types to get rid of its weaknesses. It can go to Dark type if it really wants to get rid of both of its, you know, weaknesses. And it can hit the types that hit Dark for super effective. So it's like, it's really, really good. It's really, really good. And don't forget about Drain Kiss. It could do stuff like that. Fairy Drain Kiss. Terra Blast is going to be really good on this thing. So Calyrex Shadow Rider is going to be crazy. But yeah, so. And I want to give a few quick honorable mentions. The first one is Groudon. I think Groudon is right off this list because it just doesn't do enough now. it does get access to Clear Amulet, but you know, its best move, Precipice Blades, isn't really that great. The accuracy is pretty bad on it. I could see it used in like a Trick Room team with like Hydrapple or something like that, possibly. I don't know. It's going to be really tough to use Groudon in my opinion, and I think we're going to see the fall of Groudon. Originally, I had thought Groudon was going to be him, but especially in a single restricted team, I just don't think Groudon has the output that some of these other Pokemon really do have. And yeah. And then the second one is Calyrex Ice Rider. Now, if you look at this list here, Calyrex Ice Rider hits all but Kyogre for super effective. So, you know, we got something. We got something. I guess Calyrex Shadow, does he hit it? I don't know if he gets anything that hits Calyrex Shadow for super effective, but Glacial Lance just one-shots anyways because it's so frail. But that thing is so bulky, it can set up its own Trick Room, and despite being nerfed to 120 base power, that move is still incredible. And then just the attack boost that you get off of it, plus stopping your opponent from eating berries, and now you can run Clear Amulet. The thing is going to be insane. And that doesn't even include Terastallization. You Terastallize into that Ice type, and you're just doing massive, massive amounts of damage to everything. If you could boost it up with Decorate, like, the thing is a beast. So I'm really excited to see what it does. I'm a huge fan of that Pokemon. I almost put it at number 5, but I feel like I can't leave Zacian off this list, so we kept it on there. So those are my honorable mentions. And going into number 1, we have no other than Koraidon. And once again, I said Groudon was going to be the King of Suns, but I think Koraidon is actually the King of Suns, especially in a single restricted format. This thing is absolutely insane. It beats everything that's on this list right here, like hands down. Maybe Shadow Calyrex can beat it, and of course Miraidon can also do significant damage to it, but this thing is just an absolute beast. Its Sun powers it up without having to be a fire type, and we already see how good Sun is now. And they're using Torkoal. They're using Torkoal, and their Sun is still winning games. So just bringing in the addition of Koraidon really strengthens that team. You could just take out the Torkoal, put Koraidon in, team's 10 times better. Team's 10 times better than it was, right? Because you got Fluttermane that gets a boost off of it. You can, like, that's so strong. Then you got Walking Wake. And don't even get me started on Walking Wake, but Walking Wake is going to be insane in restricted formats. People are just really sleeping on it because it's it seems bad right now because it's just so situational. But in these formats where there's such a strong Pokemon and then you got something that can just straight up counter those Pokemon, it's going to be very, very strong. It just does so well into Kyogre. It does so well into Groudon. It just, you know, Sun, anything that's up it's just really good into. So Weather Wars are going to be real. That's why I was saying with the Miraidon, you can run a Sand team. That might be the most beneficial way to run it, because you're going to have to counter these weather effects that are going to be out there, the rain and the sun. So that might be the way to do it. But Koraidon also gets a 100 base attack, a fighting attack, that gets powered up by 1.33% for being super effective, plus his ability boosting it up as well. And the ability boosted up also 1.33, right? I think so. Let me just look real quick. Does it even say here? How come it doesn't say on Cerebi? I think it's that same boost. So essentially you're getting an additional, 0.66% on all your attacks. This thing one-shots Incineroars. Clear Amulet's so good. You can run Assault Vest on this thing. It resists Kyogre's attacks minus the Ice Beam. But, like, with Fire Terra, this thing gets Flare Blitz. So in the sun, Flare Blitz, Stab, boosted. It's going to do a ton of damage and just really, really be strong. And there's only one Pokemon that can actually resist all of its typings. And that Pokemon's not really used because it's not very good. So we don't even have to worry about that. So this Pokemon is just so good. You can run Fairy Terra Fairy Terra plus something like the Terra Blast could just do a ton of damage as well, because you're still getting boosted by that sun. You gotta remember that that sun is boosting all of your attacks as if you had photosynthesis, so it's boosting all your attacks. Plus, it's just giving you, you know, you Fairy Terra, so you're getting the stab off of that. So, you know, 80 base power boosted by the sun, you know, stab fairy move into something like that. Miraidon is just going to one-shot it. And Koraidon is very, very bulky. I equate it to something like it has the speed of Fluttermane, right? It has the speed of Fluttermane. It has the attack of Chien-Pao. And then on top of that, it has the bulk of like Wo-Chien or a Ting-Lu. Like, that's the kind of Pokemon we're dealing with. This Pokemon is actually just insane. And if you really want to, you could run Draco Meteor. That's the one downfall of this Pokemon that I see, is like its best dragon move is probably Dragon Claw or Breaking Swipe. So, you know, Draco Meteor might be an option just to get a ton of damage off on something like that Walking Wake. But who knows, you might not even run it and just go for the Terra and whatever Terra you are. Though I think Fire Terra might be the best Terra for it. Fairy is definitely up there because it hits everything that hits Fairy. Okay. So, yeah, I think that might be the play, right? That might be the play. So I think this Pokemon's actually insane. There's also some other combos I don't want to give away right now because I already have a team built for this. And I don't really want to spoil what that team is. I want to wait until you guys can see it in action. But anyways, guys, that is it for me. If you enjoyed the video and you're not subscribed, make sure you guys do so. If you like the video, make sure you thumbs it up. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.